What up, what up, what up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world. It is your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I got the super dope co-host, Adam Costas, with me. You know what time it is. It's the 2023 season premiere of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. Punch that intro. What is going on? How you doing today, Adam, man? How you feeling today, man? You ready to get this season, our show underway for the season, man, for the 2023 season, man?
I am excited and ready to go. It's about time. We got some football news. It's not necessarily the season yet, but the off season does. It's now the March for September, right? You got your mini camps, you got your OTAs, you got your training camps. So I'm glad to be back. Glad to be doing this with you. Thank you again, Mac, for doing this show. It's great. I love being a part of it. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you for taking time out of your day, man, to come join me on Wednesdays and just talk about the NFC East, man. That's what football. We know we're we diehard New York Giant fans, but we talk about all four teams on this particular show, man. And I just love doing it. And it just came back from an exciting draft weekend, man. And I'm ready. I'm all about it. Let's talk about it, man. I was out there live with some of the fellas from the Big Blue crew, man. You know, shout out Big Pat, Big Lou, G Nation Sports, NYG from Unpopular Opinion Sports, man. Rodney Big from the Big Blue Corner, Joe Classified 3F. Joe, man, it was just a great weekend, man. Those guys got to meet these guys in person for the first time ever, man. It was fun. It was a great time, man. I'm working on a little vlog I'm trying to put together about the weekend. So that video, keep your eye out for that video. Should be coming out as soon as I can get it together, man. And it's just a lot of dope content was made that all weekend, man. We did a live stream out there, live, everybody sitting around the same table, man. It was just a lot. It was a lot of fun, man. Seen a lot of good, met a lot of cool people, football fans from every team all over the nation, man. Everybody, it was just a lot of energy. It was indescribable out there in Kansas City, man. And it was a good time. Kansas City did a great job hosting this draft. I mean,
the barbecue.
At least as far as I know, there were no problems. Oh, the Kansas City barbecue, bro. Let me tell you. Shout out Arthur Bryant's out in Kansas City barbecue spot, man. You go to Kansas City, you got to check out Arthur Bryant's barbecue, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's worth the wait. When you get there, you're going to pull up. It looks like a little hole in the wall, little spot on the corner. But when you get out there, man, when you get out there, you go out, you're going to see that line wrapped around the building. You're going to be a little bit intimidated by it. Like, oh, no, I ain't waiting in that line. It's worth the wait. Trust me. It's worth the wait. Get out your car, park your car, get in that damn line, and wait. It's like waiting for a roller coaster at an amusement park, but it's worth the wait. Trust me when I tell you that. Trust me when I tell you. It was so delicious, man.
I'm envious. My stomach is envious of you right now because I love some barbecue, some good old brisket, some good old ribs, and the fact that you got to taste it. You know, the draft weekend is fine, but it's all about the food. You know what I mean? That's why you're going out to those places too, to enjoy some food. So good to hear.
I just want to real quick. I want to say what's up to Daniel in the chat, man. Appreciate you stopping in, man. Most definitely. And Gonzalez, man. I actually did not get to meet any of them personally at all. You know, we weren't right. I mean, the only one that was there that we drafted was the first night was obviously Deontay Banks. I did not get a chance to actually meet him, but he was there in the facility that night, but we weren't close enough to the stage. I couldn't even get a good picture of him, to be honest.
Was he there?
So
I didn't know that he was there. I thought he was at his house.
yeah, I think he was there. I'm pretty sure when he got, I saw. No, I'm pretty sure he was there at the draft. But I'm pretty sure I saw him come out of there, come out the green room. But we were watching it on the big screen up in the grass.
Does Roger Goodell? Roger Goodell looks the same in on TV as he does in person. Hope you booed that man out the building.
He absolutely does, and nobody gets booed out the building like Roger Goodell, man. Every time he came to the stage, just a rain of boos, man. It was awesome, man. It was definitely an awesome experience. But it was fun. Just actually, like I said, meeting up with a lot of guys, we've done a little content with over the last couple of years, and it was just really dope meeting these guys in person and actually being in the same room and not just talking to each other on the screen. It was definitely cool vibes, man. We all had a great time out there, man. And we may actually start trying to make this an annual type of thing. So I'm trying to tell you, man, if you experience a draft in person, it's pretty cool, man. They do a lot of cool stuff, man. It's going to be out in Detroit next year.
I will try to make it for a night. See, Detroit's a lot closer than Kansas City. So spending a night out there is a lot easier to do because I could do one night and then leave, depending on when. Well, actually, the draft, let's look at this real quick because I may be able to finagle it where it doesn't, if the draft is like it was this time, same time next year, but different dates, so to speak, it might work out. Yeah. Let's see. April of next year is going to be the 25th, 26th, 27th. Okay, so I'll be safe. So I'll be able to go to probably like the 25th and 26th and then be able to come home that night and be able to still have, family time. So I'm going to look into that next year. Indeed. So you boys may get your wish. You may get your wish next year. Lou said Adam seems like a fun guy to hang out with. So, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was dope, man. Like it was an indescribable experience. Like I said, the whole thing, man, everything was just live, man, living color, man. But the draft itself, man, it was pretty fun too. Like I said, seeing some of the fans upset with their picks, loving their picks. It was just everything you see, man, on TV normally. We got to see and take in person, man, and soak it all in, man. And it was great. Like I said, our best day out there was Friday, about no doubt. Indeed, we got Friday. We were able to get in there and get right on up to this close to the stage, man. We were right in the mix all day long on Friday for rounds 2 and 3, man. It was just a great time, man. I put a reaction short video, my short reaction short up when we got traded up and got Jalen Hyatt, man. That was the energy. That energy that anybody who's seen that short, you seen that video, that was the energy that was out there amongst everybody. What is going on, Coach? How you feeling today, Coach Ed, man? Glad you stopped in for us, man, today, man.
Coach Ed's funny. We were in the chat with Jeff watching the draft, and this guy, man, let me tell you, Coach Ed will have you cracking up,
No doubt, indeed, man. So, without further ado, I guess we're going to get ready to get this thing started, man. Guess we're going to start in with the NFC East defending champions who – once again, like they always say, the rich just get richer, man. That's what I believe the Eagles did here in this draft. Yeah, I believe the Eagles here did that in this draft, man. The rich just get richer, man. These guys just, how does a team as good as them find a way to still improve?
It's every year. It's every year. Every year this team does it, and you every year I hear, the cap, they're not going to be able to do the cap, and this, that, and the other thing. And you're sitting here like, okay, fine. And then the Eagles go out and they say, see, we can still do it. Howie Roseman, I hate to say it, he's probably the executive of the year. The way he does things every year to keep this team. Remember in I think it was 2020, was it 2021? I do believe 2021 when Jalen Hurts was a starter. We all said that they would be a bad team, right? They would be 0-4, lower the division, all that mumbo jumbo, right? Well, they just happened to get into the playoffs that year as a wild card team. Then he built a better team, brought in a few more free agents, brought in James Bradbury, brought in some linebackers and such, and now boom, they're good. And then this draft, I mean, my God, I'm watching the draft. So let me break how I'm down. Now I'm not at the draft like Mac is. Mac is sitting there. He's doing his thing. He's having fun with the big blue crew out there. I'm sitting at home eating. I don't know what I had for dinner. Probably wasn't that as important, but I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I'm like, ooh, the Bears. The Bears are up. I know where they're going to go. They're going to go Jalen Carter. Then all of a sudden I see a trade is made. And I see the Eagles are now a spot ahead of where they were. And I'm like, this cannot be happening right now. You knew when the writing was on the wall that this guy was going there. You just knew it. I just knew it. I said, no, he's going there. And what happened? They turned the card in, and Roger Goodell with the ninth pick in the 2023 NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Carter. I said, oh, my word. Like, what do we got to do?
Unbelievable, man.
And that's Jalen Carter. And then last year they had Jordan Davis, and then they got Nakobe Dean. So right now they have Jalen Carter and Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Jalen Carter. And that's in round one, and we haven't finished yet. Then somehow, Nolan Smith drops to them. Somehow, some way, this team gets Nolan Smith. And when you talk about the rich get richer, you are absolutely right, because that. How do you do that? How do you get this guy? Why did nobody else take him? Oh, I don't know, because it's the NFL. So the Eagles did this. You know what? We don't care. We'll get our man. We're 30. We'll get another pass rusher. So this team just is going to keep coming at waves. By the way, did they mention that they had 70 sacks last year? 70. That led the NFL. And now you have Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith to add to that already potent defense. It's insane. And we can go down the list with their guys. I mean, in the first round, they got 30 overall. We said Nolan Smith, good backer, going to provide a lot of. I mean, the guy ran a 4.39 at his pro day. I mean, are you kidding me? At 239 pounds? I mean, my word. So they're going to have Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith on one side, Nakobe Dean in the middle. This team is going to be crazy. Now, remember, they traded up, so they don't have many picks. They had a third-round pick. They got Tyler Steen out of Alabama. He's going to be, again, the Eagles are setting themselves up. This is what a good team does. They set themselves up for future years. So when they lose guys, like they lost Andre Dillard, well, guess what? Now they have his replacement or a guy they can move up and down the line with Tyler Steen. Remember, he's out of Alabama. His coach is joining the Eagles, so his coach knows about him. So there's ties there. And then he also has Landon Dickerson, who was also drafted in 2021 on that line. So they get a guy that's familiar with what they're going to be doing. They get a guy that already has teammates there. I mean, this team, all they draft, you know where they draft from? Winning organizations. Georgia and Alabama. Their first three picks are from Georgia and Alabama. So the next pick we got here they have is Sidney Brown, a safety out of Illinois. This is a guy, remember they lost, I forget the three guys' name, the safety they lost recently, but they lost the safety. This guy's going to replace him in the third round.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah. Sidney Brown, Chauncey Gardner, CJ Cardi Gonser, and Mark Epps left during free agency. So they drafted him. Now, do I think he'll be a starter? I think him and Blankenship will fight for that. They also got Tramel Edmonds, remember him? So there'll be a rotation in there to do it. But the Eagles defense, they have James Bradbury. They have they still have Darius Slay. They've got this kid in the back. They have Blankenship. They have Terrell Edmonds, who's probably going to start. They're going to do a lot of things, and a new defense coordinator who's going to put it all together. This keeps going, and then they don't stop there. How this guy fell to the fourth round is beyond me. They got Kaylee Ringo. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like. Kaylee Ringo, like, what is this? What do we got to do here to catch ourselves a break? So I just mentioned the aforementioned team, right? The defense. Now they got another guy in the fourth round who fits their bill, who does what they need. By the way, did I mention he runs a 4.36? My God, like speed, and then of course the last two picks are kind of intriguing. One's another pass rusher, the 7th round pick. His name is Moro Ojomo. 6'3", 292 pound. This guy will be like in the Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat mold. He'd probably just be a run package defensive player. But they got a guy named Tanner McKee to be their backup quarterback in the 6th round. and he'll join Marcus Mariota and Jalen Hurts. He's 6'6", 231 pounds. He's not a bad player. A lot of people liked him. He has some potential. But going to the Eagles and sitting there and learning behind Jalen Hurts, remember, they only have Marcus Mariota on a one-year deal. So this guy can come in there. He does the opposite of what Jalen Hurts does. I mean, he's not a comparable person. Marcus Mariota does a little bit more of what Jalen Hurts does, so they don't lose a step there. But, my God, overall, what a solid draft for the Eagles. The first the first 4 picks are going to be really, well, in this case, the first 5 picks, because they had 2 in the first, and they had 2 in the third, and they had 1 in the fourth. That's really gonna cement their team. I mean, they had no 5th-round pick, right? So they had the 4th-round pick, which is pretty good. A guy that, again, developed behind Slay and Bradbury. They have Brown, who they like out of Illinois. Illinois' defense is pretty good. Remember, they had Devon Washington, the corner. Excuse me. And now they got the guard, which is, from Alabama. I mean, come on, Eagles. Why do you have to do this to me? Howie Roseman, why do you have to do this to me? Mac, your thoughts on the Eagles?
Absolutely crazy. I have no idea how Howie Roseman continues to pull some of these moves off. But at the end of the day, man, hats off to him, man, because he's getting it done. And the running joke most of the weekend was, are they even the Philadelphia Eagles anymore, or are they the Philadelphia Bulldogs? Because they got Georgia's whole defense, I feel like, on their team now. They've just pretty much drafted Georgia's entire defense. It's absolutely insane that they just keep getting all of these great, phenomenal prospects, man. And we haven't even touched on the day 2 trade they made for DeAndre Swift. We haven't even talked about that yet. To acquire DeAndre Swift via trade, another big time trade for the Eagles and during the draft. As we know, last year they acquired A.J. Brown in the draft, and then you get DeAndre Swift for virtually nothing. A 7th-round draft pick.
Did they have Miles Sanders still?
Was that?
They
let Miles Sanders walk. They let Miles Sanders walk. He's on Carolina. He signed with Carolina.
Okay. So now you replace Miles
but either way,
with this guy. I can't. People, DeAndre Swift was going to be the starting running back.
Pick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And a 2025 and a 4th-round pick in 2025. That's all DeAndre Swift was worth to the Detroit Lions. Seriously,
2025.
Seriously,
2025. Not even next year.
Not even next year. A 4th-round pick 2 years from now. That's what DeAndre Swift was worth to the Detroit Lions. Give me a break. It's like you just said, here you go, Howie. Go ahead and have him. I think Howie's got goons on the take or something, man. Out there intimidating these jokers and accepting these Madden-like trades. This is absolutely crazy to me that a running back the caliber of DeAndre Swift, the Detroit Lions just basically gave away to a team like the Eagles for virtually nothing. Virtually nothing. They gave him away for that pick right there at the end, their 7th-round pick, Moro Ojomo, essentially. So they traded. They were able to acquire that. I mean, excuse me. I can't. I'm wrong. I mixed that up. The other 7th-round pick that they did have. I mean, so it's like, give me a break, man. The Eagles are they're a really good team, but they're also our division rivals. And we got everybody else in this division has got to figure out a way to catch up to this football team. And right now, I mean, they were already the favorites anyway, but they're still head and shoulders above everybody else until proven otherwise right now. Because this team, this draft was, I mean, the first round alone, to be able to acquire these 2 kids from Georgia, that for whatever reason, Jalen Carter to me should have been a top 5 pick. I don't think he should have got out of the top 5, honestly. So for him to slip down to number 9 to the Eagles, that's just absolutely insane to me, man. A guy of this talent, man. Once the Atlanta Falcons, this is a shout out to Rodney, Big Blue Corner, man. This is what he was talking about, man. They took Bijan Robinson so high at that point in the draft. It was just like that almost changed the dynamic, and that opened the door for the Eagles to be able to acquire Jalen Carter, for him to actually make that slip. Because I don't know how he got past all those teams after those first couple of quarterbacks went, man. Myself personally, I probably would have took him at number 3 if I was the Arizona Cardinals. But even so, even with him not going there, it's just no reason for him to slip all the way down at 9. He almost fell out of the top 10, and he didn't go visit any of the teams outside that were picking outside the top 10. So that he got that close to slipping out of the top 10 is absolutely crazy, man. Because this kid was a phenomenal talent. at Georgia. And yeah, we know about the offseason incident and we understand, how things go. But at the end of the day, this kid has no true character issues that I know of. Other than making a poor decision on that particular day. That other than, but
Well,
at the same time,
somebody had to slip, and he was the guy. I said somebody had to slip, and he was the guy, and it doesn't make any sense to me that he slipped, but Jiminy Crickets, right? Jiminy effing Crickets. This guy gets here. Like, this is what doesn't make any sense to me is that, like, I understand off the field problems. I don't know exactly what went on. I don't have all the details, and it's not that I want to look it up. It's it's one of those things where people get in trouble, right? But we had DeAndre Baker rob people at gunpoint. Okay, this guy has done nothing that I've heard of to do too bad. So the fact that the Eagles, who don't care about character concerns, and by the way, this is why I told Jeff T the other day. I said he's going to a team that has all his teammates on it. They can help him be a support system. You know what I mean? Say, hey, man, we're not going out tonight. We're going to study for the big game. You want to study with us? Sure, man. Great. You don't understand how much that means to a person coming in. Like going into a job. I don't know if any of you have been in a job and you've had a friend work at a job or an acquaintance work at a job. It just eases that tension there, right? You're like, oh, man, I got a familiar face here. So it's crazy, man. And I agree with you. He probably should have been the first pick in the draft. I'm surprised the Texans didn't trade up to get him.
Well, they traded up to get the pass rusher, the linebacker, the other kid,
right, out of Georgia.
But Will I'm not. Yeah, Will Anderson. I couldn't remember his name offhand, but I'm not really upset. So I could see that. That's, to me, is okay. Okay, that wasn't really so bad. You know what I mean? That addressed the need for them, and they went up and that's the guy they wanted. But for him to get past all the rest of those teams, I just don't understand how he was able to slip right down into the Eagles' hands, man. I just can't figure it out. And then to be able to come back in the first round late and still grab Nolan Smith at 31, like, that's, come on.
I thought he would have been a perfect fit for Seattle. I thought Seattle at 5. You pick Jalen Carter, who's still on the board. I'm like, because like you said, Arizona probably should have picked him at 3. They didn't, right? So
they traded the pick away. They ended up trading the pick away.
Right, but you would think if they had that chance, they traded the pickup away and traded it down to move to Tennessee. Who they traded for? Texans? Yes, the Texans. They traded for the Texans. Who went up and got up Willie Anderson, and then the Colts. They took Anthony Richardson. So I'm sitting there like, Seattle. Anthony Richardson. I'm saying to Seattle, I'm like, yo, this is where he's going to go. He's going to thrive. He's going to make that defense better. And of course, they went with somebody else there. I think they went with a corner, if I'm not mistaken.
They went with the corner and took the first corner off the board.
Yeah. So, but I think Seattle's not in the division we're talking about. I think they had a phenomenal draft too. But man, the Eagles get richer. But the guy that I like them to see though is Nolan Smith. Like, that guy, I thought it was going to be in the top 15, top 16, and that guy lasted to 31. 30. To last to 30 in the draft. My God, like, I don't know how these guys do it every time.
I'm still just looking at the Cardinals. Still had number 6 overall pick. Had an opportunity to grab Jalen Carter. Like you said, Seattle could have grabbed him. The Raiders could have
another team.
It's just, I don't understand. I couldn't understand.
Atlanta went with the running back, so I guess they're all in with Desmond Ridder. So
yeah, that just opened the door. Once Atlanta took Bijan Robinson, that just opened the door for the Eagles to swoop in there and grab Jalen Carter at number. They moved up a pick. And made sure they got him, and that's what they did, and that's why the Eagles are so good.
I don't want to know what's going to happen with this team because I just don't want to think about them being in the Super Bowl again, representing. But they just I do believe every team in the NFC East got better, and we'll touch on, like, we're going to touch on everybody's draft. But I just feel like the Eagles put themselves in a different stratosphere. with these picks.
Well,
It's
I
like
think
these
they
guys
were already in different stratosphere anyway, and then
no,
they just got
but you
even
know what I'm
better.
saying? Yeah, but someone said
Yeah,
they
I
lost
feel you.
Javon Hargraves, right? And they're like, oh, they're not going to be able to replace that guy. Guess what? They did with Jalen Carter. You know, they got Jordan Davis there, who's eventually going to place Fletcher Cox. They got Nakobe Dean, who replaces TJ Edwards in their defense. You know, they signed a few players as well. So it's not like they didn't sign some free agents as well, their entire roster. So I think they have the best roster in the NFL. Whether that equates to championships, I don't know. But they are the best overall roster in the NFL, at least in the NFC East.
One thing I will say for the Philadelphia Eagles this year is hope they can, if for them it's gonna also come down to health, because last year they were a very good football team, and they were also, I consider them a very blessed football team. Not really struck with too many major injuries. I mean, we know late in the season Jalen Hurts had to miss a couple of games late in the season, and Jordan Mailata or whatever, he missed a few games along the way. And you had your couple pretty much regular games. You pretty much come accustomed to who's their right tackle? I forgot his name again. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. The right tackle, the veteran, one that's been there for a while. Lane Johnson. He's usually good for missing a couple of games, but that was pretty much about it for the most part. They didn't have too many. I mean, the safety we were just talking about earlier too, the one that they had got from New Orleans a year ago. He was out for a little bit of time, but other than that, they pretty much they were a pretty healthy football team a year ago. And can they be that blessed again this year and get that lucky to not really get snake bitten with the injury bug like most teams do? We'll see, man. But they are a very talented team. They are loaded with depth. So honestly, that's another thing about this team is when guys do go down, they got guys that can step in and fill the shoes, man, fill the void. And this team is, like I said, as of right now, until proven otherwise, going into this year, I mean, I think you'd be crazy to try to say any other team in this division is as good as the Philadelphia Eagles right now. I mean, they're just not. That's just, you'd be lying to yourself if you said that honestly. This football team, like you said,
I'm sure Cowboy fans would be banging on the table. So, like, hey, man, we're still in this division as well. And like, I'll tell them to go F off.
I think it's going to be. I think it's still going to be a very good and competitive division overall. Anyway, when it all comes down to it, but as of right now, as of what we know today, here on May 3rd, 2023, on paper, no one else is in the same league as the Eagles in this division right now. Still, even with everyone, like you said, improving and having decent drafts and improving their rosters, they're still not on the level with the Philadelphia Eagles, at least not on paper anyway. This team is loaded from top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams, everything in between, man. This team's got it, man. And they got a very happy quarterback who got paid a few weeks ago. So they're going into this season the right way, man. Everybody's ready to go, geared up and ready. And this team is going to be something to see, man, at full health, at full strength. I don't even know when will be a good time to maybe catch these guys on the schedule, to be honest. It's just
probably week one. It's definitely not Black Friday, but week one. Week one, I think. I doubt it's going to happen, but that would be the way to do it because
week one.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know who we're playing. I think we're playing the Jets, but we'll touch on that next week's show, folks. We'll be back for the schedule show. But, the Eagles, see, the thing is, like, a team like that, I feel like you got to catch them early, right? Right? Like we caught Tennessee last year, right? We caught them early. We didn't let them have a chance to develop. And, yeah, you can say what you want about Tennessee, but we all went into that game thinking they have a shot because, so it's anything can happen in week one. Well, here we are. And knowing the NFL, they're going to push them towards the late part of the season because they want to see those rivalry teams. But if we can get them week one, maybe week two, hell, even week three, like the Cowboys. Remember, the Cowboys are 0-2, headed into Giants Stadium. And we're like, yeah, let's bury the Cowboys, and we didn't. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's why they play the games. That's why we have the practices. Should be fun, though.
Absolutely, man. You think they got any? Well, you already spoke about Khalid Ringo, man. You think that was pretty much their steal of the draft? Maybe would you say that 4th round?
Yes,
from Georgia.
Well, I think Ringo is good because they don't have to start him right away. So he can play in nickel packages and sub packages, really learn the game, right? As a because he has Bradbury
Yeah,
and Slay
absolutely.
there. I think eventually he's going to replace one of those guys. I know they have Slay for another year or two or something like that. So we'll see. But you're going to a championship caliber type of team who, this is how you win. You just keep filling in the depth regardless of how many players are at that position. And then when those players leave, you have their replacement right on the roster, right? So, I want to see how they all mesh together. I want to see how if Kobe Dean takes that step. He didn't get much playing time last year because two guys were in front of him, but he'll definitely be the starter this year. And we'll see how Jordan Davis fares and Hassan Reddick. I mean, Hassan Reddick had a breakout year last year, right? So, I mean, you could say he had a breakout year with Carolina, but he really came into his own last year with the Eagles. And now you have another guy on the other side who runs people 4.36 speed. That guy can come from anywhere. That is quick. That is gonna. If I were the defensive coordinator, I'm looking at my chops. I'm saying, yo, we're blitzing you in the A gap every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this team's gonna have an insane rotation on that front seven, man. Insane. It's gonna be downright scary. Like you said, this team had
Right,
70
and they still
sacks a
have
year ago,
Barnett. They still
and
have
they
Derek Barnett and
and they
Brandon Graham.
and they made it better. And they made themselves better. So
Oh my God,
maybe
I
they're
don't
going
want to
for
talk
80
about it
this year. Who knows? I don't know.
anymore. 80, don't say that, man. Come on. I know they're going to try to make up for. I know they're going to try to make up for the lack of sacks they had in the Super Bowl, but my God, don't say 80. I mean, I want to have a fighting chance. My Lord, 80 sacks. Oh
but
God. Here you go, guys. We're going to break our own record by
we can
10.
move on. We're gonna move on from the Philadelphia Eagles for now, man. We're gonna move into another division rival who had a pretty decent draft themselves and made some moves to acquire may fill some of the holes on their roster. I'm talking about them Washington Commanders. And how do you feel about their draft, Adam?
It was okay. It was an average draft. I mean, I do think they got
Yeah.
better. How good? I don't know. Emmanuel Forbes, some people think is a reach. We'll see. We'll see if that is a reach. But he was one of the best players in college football last year. And they took
I
one of the
mean,
best. Go ahead.
I wouldn't have called him a reach so much as I just might have been a couple other corners still on the board that I would have preferred, and with that selection, I would have probably, if myself was there, if I was the GM, would have took over Emmanuel Forbes. But Emmanuel Forbes is a good player, so it's not like they just
Right.
grabbed some scrub. And I went out there and grabbed some scrub.
Right.
He's a good player, solid,
Well,
but a couple other guys I probably would have took over him. That's all.
I think they're looking at him as a playmaker, a guy who can, tilt the field with interceptions. He had a lot of interceptions in college. He's a ball hawk, and so it says the number of touchdowns Forbes returned is um, is six touchdowns he had as a cornerback at his college. So I'm assuming they're taking him because their passing defense was not good. They had 9 interceptions last season, which is ugh. They had 20. They were 28th in defense in that category. So, he's going to take the ball away. That's what he's going to do. I know people are worried about his, weight, 166 pounds or something like that. But I mean, we don't know how much weight he's put on now. We don't know how much weight he can still add to that frame. And let's be honest, he's also over 6 feet. Close to 6 feet. So I don't think that is going to be a hindrance. He can play. He can tackle. He's a guy who's going to be around the ball. To me, it's a solid pick. Not that maybe I would have taken Banks, or Gonzalez. I thought Gonzalez was going there once he was left on the board. I thought there was
Gonzalez
no
wanted to
way.
pick I think Gonzalez
He
wanted to
went.
pick before him. Actually, I think he might have
Oh,
wanted to
did
pick
he?
before him.
Oh yeah, they went
I think
14.
he might
That's
have.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He went to the Patriots. So I thought that's who they were going to get. They didn't. They decided to stand pat and take another corner. So and then they went with Jatarius Martin in the second round, another DB. They had to replace Bobby McCain, so this guy will come in and do that. So he'll be a safety / corner, come down in the corner position to play the slot. Will he start? I don't know. They have a couple corners in front of him, but again, these guys last year their passing defense wasn't great, and I think that didn't help the pass rush when you don't have a good back end defense, right? So this kind of helps that out and gets the guys like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne to kind of get going and get sacks. We'll see what happens with Sweat and Young. We'll see if Young can come back from his injury. But they have a formidable front seven, and with these two guys, it kind of shores up the back end is what you need in this pass happy NFC East. And then their next pick in the third round was Ricky Stromberg, center / guard in Arkansas. Remember, they need much help that they can get on the offensive line. A guy that can play two positions works for them. I don't know if he's going to start at guard or center, but he'll probably be they said the starting left jobs up for grabs, so maybe he'll play. Maybe he'll come in and be a swing guard or something like that. So we'll see what happens. Remember, they did sign Gates, the tackle, our tackle, which is a little sad. They still have Andrew Norwell. They got a guy like Chris Paul, and they have Shadi Charles. So he'll have a chance to try to fit in there and see if he can steal the starting spot. But gives them depth on an already line that who knows, right? They're got a block for Sam Howell. They got another guy, Bardeen Daniels out of Utah, another offensive lineman. You can see the trend here. They're building depth here. They're trying to make sure that they have, in case guys go down, they have adequate replacements. Smart moves by the Commanders so far. They got KJ Henry out of Clemson, another good depth piece for them while they build and can develop behind Montez Sweat. I mean, they also have Shoka Tony and Will Bradley at defensive end. So, again, this is probably more of a special teams move. But, hey, again, you don't know where Chase Young's going to be. You don't know what he's going to do. So you need that depth. You can never have too many pass rushers coming. And then they have Chris Rodriguez, a running back out of Kentucky. They have a couple guys already in the backfield. Brian Robinson came on like gangbusters after his injury. I think he'll be the bell cow next year. They still have Antonio Gibson as their third down back. They needed depth. They also, J.D. McKissick left, so they needed some guy to come in there. So and he averaged 6.2 yards per carry with the Wildcats. So he knows how to get some yards and good yards. We'll see what Eric Bieniemy can do with this team and how he's going to build it. You know how Kansas City loves their backs. I mean, they had Edward Hilaire and Dominic Pacheco, I think his name was, last year. So they're going to utilize running backs.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Isaiah Pacheco. So they're going to utilize the running back. So, again, another depth piece, nothing crazy. And then Andre Jones out of Louisiana, again, another depth piece. Again, you can never have too many backup players, but there is one thing that stands out about Jones is his 34 and a fourth inch arms. That's good for a guy his size. But the issue with him is he's going to be 25. So we'll see what happens going forward. But I think they had a solid job. Not a lot of home runs, so to speak, but the guys you can build around and plug in, and some guys that might be there. I think Forbes is going to really. I think he's going to really make a difference. I do think he'll be a starter. I think he'll be able to play some press man. He'll be able to allow that pass rush to make them think twice, throwing it to his side. Are you there, Mac? I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can read your lips, but I can't hear. Here, let me refresh, or maybe that'll help. Empanada. I can't hear you. I'm going to go check the feed to see if the feed on YouTube can be heard. Because I can't hear you right now. So sorry, folks, if little technical difficulties. First show of the season never always goes off of that hitch, right? So let me just double check here. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you even on YouTube. So I don't know what's happening. And now I get the echo of myself because I'm listening to YouTube to make sure I can hear it. I can't do it. Oh man, Mac, try to see if you can come back and leave and come back and see if that's what will happen. Sorry about this, folks. So, anyways, we're talking about the Washington Commanders and their draft, having some technical difficulties, but I think their build is kind of smart. They're going after Sam Howell, and Sam Howell is the guy that they're trying to build around. So we'll see if some of these picks help them. I thought they would have went with more of an offensive player, but obviously they've got a lot of receivers, a lot of help. They've got Curtis Samuels, they have Scary Terry, and then Jahan Dotson last year. I think they still have Logan Thomas as their tight end. So I think you'll see them, and then the offensive line help. And then what they really needed, like we said, was defensively. They needed a DB to kind of, shore up that back end. And what Emmanuel Forbes does, what people don't realize is when you have a guy that can make interceptions, that is a guy that, if you're Daniel Jones or whatever quarterback is there, they're going to think twice about throwing it to that side because that guy can make plays. 6 touchdowns in college football in his career. That's pretty good. If he played 4 or 5 years, that's a touchdown a year. That's, almost unheard of to have. If you equate that to the NFL, not a lot of guys have had a lot of touchdowns. There's been some guys like Rondé Barber and corners like that. So just don't let size is concerning, but don't let that be the overall factor for them. We have, these draft picks, and you can't really evaluate draft picks till 3 years in, right? Because guys have time to develop. The problem that we have these days, especially in the NFL, what the NFL's done is they've basically made the NFL where you can go from worst to first in a heartbeat. And you get a good draft going, and next thing you know, bingo bang, you're ready to go. And you're in the playoffs and you're in the Super Bowl like the good old Eagles that were there. And so the one draft can change everything. You just don't know, right? So for me, I would tell people, don't get too alarmed by this. The Commanders will have a chance because let's be honest, they took the Giants to the brink. So it's not like they're not sitting there talking to themselves saying, hey, we can beat this team, right? So you have some hope. I think it's smart moves, and that's hard to say by a organization such as
such as the Commanders. So I don't know where Mac went. I'm hoping he's coming back soon. But overall, I think their draft, if you want to give, I don't want to give a grade, so to speak. I know people like to give a grade. I'll use words. I think it was solid. I really do. I don't think it was anything spectacular, but I don't think it was abysmal. Some people thought it was like, oh, they're the worst team. And I think, sometimes the quiet draft is the best draft, right? Sometimes you don't always want stars. And when we get into the Giants who are next, we'll definitely be able to do that. So yes, we did that. Let's do the New York Football Giants. And they also had a team. So Deontay Banks, John Michael Schmidt, Jalen Hyatt, Eric Gray in the 5th round, and Trey Hawkins, Jordan Riley, and Gervarius Owens. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We'll get into that draft pretty soon. I think the Giants draft, and when Matt comes on, we can ask him. He was there. I think the Giants draft was pretty good because everyone knew the prospects, right? I think last year they didn't know the prospects. So when you don't know the prospects, it becomes a bit harder to decipher. When you only have 2 guys that in the top 5, I think the Giants had many ways to go. And the fact of the matter is, I think because a lot of people knew who those players were, you got a better understanding. I think it was a little bit more exciting, right? Like Deontay, I don't know if Deontay Banks per se was linked to them. I didn't have them taking him. I had them going corner, so I was right on the position, just not right on the player. And when Joey Porter Jr. was sitting there, I was licking my chops because, again, like for example, Deontay Banks. The reason why I think he's an ideal pick for the Giants is because of his size, right? His size is, he's 6'2", 210 pounds. They traded up one spot, so they got him to secure that he wanted him. Obviously, there was a run on cornerbacks throughout this draft. There were premiums all over the place, and I think he'll be a starter. I do. I think he'll be a starter. I think he'll be the guy. I mean, he's a 1st-round pick, so that means he's going to probably be starting over guys like Cordell Flott, Aaron Robinson, Nick McLeod, Amani Oruwariye on the other side. But, if they don't want to start him, they want to start Aaron Robinson. I can see them doing that as well. He fits the mold of what Wink Martindale is looking for. He ran a 4.35, which is insane. He posted a 42-inch vertical jump and a 11.4 broad jump. Wow. Like that is explosive power. Hopefully it translates. I think it'll be great for the Giants because he can blitz. I think that's why you're bringing him in. The Giants love to blitz their corners. This guy can do that. They like to have guys on the island. I think last year they couldn't do that as much. This year they'll try to probably do that more. Allow their pass rushers. Oh, Mac is back. Mac Attack is back. We just moved on to the Giants, Mac.
That's what's up. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now, loud and clear.
All right. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody out there. Just had to restart my my computer. I don't know what happened there, but maybe it's something. Maybe with this crazy weather I'm dealing with down here where I live at. But it's all good now. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, Adam, for that.
Oh, no problems. We were just trying to piece together the dead air. I hope I did a good job doing that. Sorry, folks. Again, technical difficulties 1st round. See, we lost some viewers, but come on back because we're back. We were just talking about the Giants draft. Let's talk about Deontay Banks running a 4.35, having an 11.4 broad jump. That's insane to think that he can jump 11 feet standing still, or over 11 feet in this case, standing still. And he had a 4.2-inch vertical. Very good scores of in terms of measurables. Let's see if that can translate. I think Wink Martindale likes him. He can blitz, like I was saying. He'll help the pass rush out, which is what we need. And the Giants will play a lot more press man. Let's hope that helps. This guy fits Wink Martindale's system. A comparable comp I've heard for him is Marlon Humphreys for the Ravens. Again, he was not the top corner pick, but that doesn't mean he won't be the top corner when it's all said and done. I like the pick. I think that was a good pick for them. But, we'll see how it pans out. Like I said, for the Giants, the first 3 picks, like I said to somebody else, were either going to be corner, center, receiver. Didn't matter what order. Guess what? The first 3 picks were corner, center, receiver. So they did what they needed to do. The next pick, again, I was telling the fans, Mac, that a lot of people knew these guys because the Giants have been linked to them, and a lot of these guys were going to go in the first round, like John Michael Schmidt. Absolutely love him. I think he's a great player. Think he was a good get for the Giants, a natural center out of Minnesota, a little older of a player, 24 years old, but he's going to be rusting. I guarantee he's going to be a starter. If not, he's going to be fighting with that guy they got from Pittsburgh. But let's be real, he's going to get the starting nod. He's going to get pushed to the starting nod. Let's hope that his weakness has been pass rush. Pass pro a little bit, but his run blocking is insane. When he locks onto you, he is absolutely, he's a lockdown guy. He's going to move his guy, and I think it's going to be good to see him next to Galowinski, and we'll see who they put at the left guard position. Next to Andrew Thomas. I feel bad for Andrew Thomas. He always got a rotating chair at the left guard position. No one's ever been legitimized there, so maybe we'll see what happens there. Their 3rd round pick. Now, this is one that intrigues me the most out of the draft. Jalen Hyatt. Now, Mac, you were there. Tell us a little bit about the pick when he was made, how the fans reacted.
The fans went absolutely nuts when we picked Jalen Hyatt. Real quick, Joe, before what's going on, Joe? Good to see you in the chat, man. Thanks for stopping in too, bro. Joe was one of the guys that went out to Kansas City, also got to meet, and it was just an awesome experience. But when Jalen Hyatt got picked, that place when first they announced the trade, the Giants moved up his numbers, 73, I believe it was, to get him number 73, and it
Yes.
was. The place went absolutely crazy, man. When they announced the pick, I lost my mind. I just thought, Joe Shane, man, you're a genius, man. This to me, in my opinion, this is a kid that had first round talent, and at the end of the day, we know why he didn't go in the first couple of rounds, because of the injury. So teams tend to stay away from guys like that. With those bad, they sustain those bad injuries. But Jalen Hyatt is a burner, man. He has to work on some things. Obviously, we know things he has to work on, like his route running is not crisp. It's not where it needs to be. But he has time to work on that and develop that before he even has to make his NFL debut. Because we know at the end of the day, he's not going to be ready to go until probably October, November, most likely. So I think this kid can really come in and develop. The receiver room is a lot better. He'll have some guys he can learn, some things he can learn from in the books before he's able to get on the field physically. And I think he's a burner. He's just exactly what the Giants need, just adding more speed. What's wrong with who?
Jalen Hyatt.
He had tore his ACL and back in November. He tore his ACL.
Wandale Robinson. No, you're talking about Herndon Hooker.
Jalen Hyatt.
Jalen Hyatt was healthy all year.
Is he? Then why was he?
Yes.
Then how did he go to the 3rd round?
Because he went to the 3rd round because of his. I'll tell you why. There's a few things that have come up in here. First, I want to say his pros. One, speed. The guy is a burner, and we're faster than Darius Slayton, faster than probably Paris Campbell. We're talking track speed. The guy ran a 10.4 in the 200 in the meter. So if you guys know what 200 is, that's pretty fast. The second thing is he has a great catch radius. Okay, he catches a lot of balls all over the place, no matter where you throw it. Now, here's where the problems lie, and this is what I've read about and learned about him and watched on film. The one thing on film I will say is he didn't play on the outside. So that leads me to believe I don't know if he can take press man. That's one thing. The other thing is The offense that they ran at Tennessee wasn't complicated. He didn't really switch sides much. If he was on the right side, that's where he stayed, is on the right side, no matter where the team was headed. He didn't really flip much. Now, you can mask that by, moving a guy in motion, right? And the other thing is that they said that his route tree wasn't very polished. So we will see about it. Now, if you watch his highlights, and I know people say, I don't really watch highlights, doesn't give you the whole story. It does show you some things. And what I saw in his highlights was he was never lined up outside, and he never got bumped at the line. So that's probably one of the things, is like those lack of question marks and not being able to do it. And I heard his jump ball, contested catches. He, all the other receivers that went ahead of him had like 40, 50 contested catches in college. He like 13. And the production. He didn't have that much production his first year. He had production here. He is the Biletnikoff winner, people. He had 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. The Biletnikoff is given to the best receiver in the nation. So he has talent. So we'll find out if the evaluators are right, or if they were completely wrong and this guy blows up.
Well, I think the evaluators were wrong, and I think that the Giants got an absolute steal with him being on the board in round 3, just sitting there for him. And that's the reason why they moved up. They moved up about like 14 spots, I believe, something like that, 14 or 15 maybe spots to get him. So I think there was an absolute steal.
And then a 4th round pick. I do believe that was the trade.
So I'm sorry for all the confusion. I guess all weekend I was thinking that all weekend. Maybe I was a little too tipsy. I guess all weekend I was thinking that it was him that was injured, not Hendon Hooker. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
But well, then that's even better for the Giants. Then that's even better for the Giants. Then, in my opinion, this kid's ready to go right out the gate, because I think this guy is he's an absolute. He's what Daniel Jones, in my opinion, needs. I mean, Daniel Jones is where he throws the deep ball. That's what he was first known for doing, being able to throw the deep ball. Now he's got a guy he can look too deep that actually has more dependable hands than a Darius Slayton or a couple of the other guys that's been letting balls slip through their fingers these last couple of years. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens here. But I think that pick was absolutely amazing, man. It was a great pick for me. And like I said, I uploaded a short on my channel. You can check it out. You can see how I feel about that pick, man. It was definitely one that made me quite happy at the end of the night on Friday night out there in Kansas City, man. The fans were, like I said, it was crazy. I can't describe. You had to be there to see it, man.
So there's a fun stat here, right? So the Giants have had no team had fewer 20-plus yard receptions, 28, than the Giants last season, right? Jalen Hyatt had 8 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns of over 50 yards. 8 touchdowns of over 50 yards. Okay, so if you add those extra 8, we're at what, 36 20-yard pass plays. And let me tell you this before we go into the other players. The Giants are now relying on their quarterback to be the playmaker. Okay, they babied him. They're going to take the handcuffs off, and they're going to see if he can elevate to the level that some think he can, others are on the fence about. We'll find out, because Barkley is here, but when you get guys like Hyatt, Campbell, Waller, you bring back Darius Slayton, you have Isaiah Hodgins, you're loading up for a guy to pass. And this guy, there's no excuse for this guy, Daniel Jones, to not have at least 4,000 yards and 25-plus touchdowns, okay, with all these weapons on the field. Especially with a guy like Jalen Hyatt, who will eventually open up Darren Waller down the field. Okay, when he's running 9 routes, like Deshaun Jackson used to do with the Eagles, guess who's coming underneath? Darren Waller, and who also has some speed. So it's going to be fun to watch him. I want to see where they start about. If I'm him, first play of the game, first quarter, I'm telling Daniel, you know what? Air it the F out. Okay, just let's do this first play of the game. I don't care who the hell you're playing. Go to the kid, whatever number. I think he's wearing 84. I could be wrong. But you tell them, like, you go to Hyatt and you just let him put the burners on. And you tell Daniel, you tell him, I'll see you in the end zone. That's where I'm throwing it. I'm throwing it to the moon. Go get it, And we'll see if Daniel has the – because Jalen Hyatt is the type of guy that if you don't have the arm strength, it's going to show up on tape. because he'll be slowing down and, the ball will look underthrown. It really is not underthrown. It's just, that's how far Daniel could throw it, right? So we'll find out.
At the end of the day, I was going to say, at the end of the day, with these guys, with these additions, man, the Deer Giants have added so much speed to the receiver position. I mean, they already weren't that bad, honestly, as far as in that department, but now they've added so much more. Like Darren, you can't even forget Darren Waller in the mix with that, man. Darren Waller is also, a burner at the tight end position. And then, like I said, just Jalen Hyatt picked I can see the New York Giants offense absolutely stretching the field this season, man. And it's gonna be a fun offense to watch, I think. I think it can be if guys can stay healthy and we can get this thing going right. And I think Daniel Jones will probably have that success. I think they're building this up to make sure he can have that success, man. And I'm just seeing if it can all play out.
We'll see, because when you go deep a lot more interceptions, a lot more tip balls, a lot more risks happen. So we'll see if they really open it up for him and get him going. He's going to get a 10-yard cushion, so you look for hook routes for Jalen Hyatt. Look for slant routes, Jalen Hyatt. Look for him to have at least 3 touchdowns of over 50 yards in this season. And who knows? I think we'll see how fast he can develop. Right now, he's the best. He's the most talented receiver on the team. And the highest drafted receiver. Well, second highest drafted receiver outside of Wan'Dale Robinson, and people know how I feel about Wan'Dale Robinson. So the only thing we'll find out is
Shep was a second-round pick.
Yeah, I don't count him. Pick, actually, I'm sleeping on that guy. So. But I forget that he's on the team half the time. He's always injured. But let's move on to the running back, Eric Gray. I like him. He's out of Oklahoma. Solid running back. I think we needed one. The Giants have Matt Breida. They have Gary Brightwell, but they also have Saquon Barkley. Both Breida and Brightwell have one-year deals. So, not Breida and Brightwell. Breida and Barkley have one-year deals. Brightwell is no guarantee. And then Eric Gray, he kind of brings – he could be the bell cow next year if you want. It looks like the Giants might be moving in that direction. I don't see any movement with Barkley. If I'm Barkley – if you want the numbers that you want, go out and ball out, and make it be like, well, you have to pay me because I'm the best back in football, no questions asked. So we'll see what happens, but the Giants are planning for the possibility of not having this guy. Then in the 6th round, they went Trey Hawkins, cornerback. I forget where he's at. I think it's out of Old Dominion, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Old Dominion. Or dipping back into
Old Dominion.
O'Shane Zimenez's alma mater. Again, 4.4 speed, 6'1", 188 pounds, the type of cornerback that they're looking for in this defense. He blocks some kicks.
Sure, tackler. He's a good tackler.
Yes, and
he actually wraps up and tackles.
That's exactly what they need, and not to mention special teams. He's blocked a couple kicks this year, so a guy like that helps your back end of your roster. If I'm Darnay Holmes and Nick McLeod, you're on notice. You're on notice. Just being real with you. Jordan Riley out of Oregon, a huge man, massive man, 6'5", 325-pound guy. He's here for one reason only. The Giants were a terrible run defense last year. They've got some beef up front now with Nachos Roches, with Ashawn Robinson, and now this guy, Jordan Riley, not to mention Davison last year with a pick. So it's going to be a wall out there. Let's hope he's not a road bump for a team like the Eagles. But we'll see. He's also an older player, 6th-year player, so he's older. And then the last pick for the Giants, Houston safety, Javarius Owens. He's probably just another addition to the back end. We'll see how much playing time he gets. I know they have Jason Pinnock still on the team. They have Dave Belton. That's the reason why they didn't bring back Jordan Love. They have those 2 guys in place, not to mention Xavier McKinney. So there is a spot for him if he does well on the roster. But again, we'll see. But again, when you've got guys that are drafted by the regime, the guys who weren't drafted by that regime or are not drafted in general, like a Pinnock, those guys are the ones that need to worry about their job because they are undrafted free agents for a reason. Pinnock, I think, was a 5th-round pick of the Jets, but he was brought in off of waivers. So we'll see what he can do. I like what Pinnock can do, but again, this is another depth signing. Overall, I think the first 3 picks are what you're looking at for the Giants to really make some headway. Those 3 picks are more exciting than last year's first 3 picks. I think last year it was Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, and the rest of the guys they were just there. This one you have Jalen Hyatt, Smith,
Jermichael Smith, and then Deontay Banks. All three of them can make an impact right away, and I think Eric Gray can he can contribute at some point. So overall, I really like their draft, like what they did. Speed, and power. They got two corners over 6 foot who fit their mold. They can blitz. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Giants this year.
Well, I agree. I agree with a lot of what you said. Real quick, what's going on, Alex from Big Blue in the Bronx? Thanks for stopping in, bro. Really appreciate it, man. But here's what I believe about, like you just said, Deontay Banks, John Michael Schmitz, Jalen Hyatt. As far as I'm concerned, first 3 rounds, those are all plug-in starters right from the gate. I believe all 3 of these guys can come out, be day one starters for the New York Giants. And I think they're going to be impact players. My guy, John Michael Smith, in the second round, man, I didn't get to talk about him much because I was having those technical difficulties. Here we go, man. This is what I'm talking about, New York Giants. This is exactly what I mean. Now, John Michael Smith gets picked round number 2. Shout out to Lou G Nation for nailing these first 2 picks dead on in his mock drafts. But like I said, John Michael Smith, this is a center now, a real center. An actual center. Like John Feliciano, he had his high moments, he had his low moments last year, but he's not really a traditional center. And I feel like the center position
is a lot lower than he was high.
Much more important. So much more important than people want to give it credit for, because the center is your captain of your O-line, essentially. They get the guys, make sure everybody, they calling out all the blitzes, got to be able to look and recognize what they're seeing on the defense. The center is so very important, man. And I think John Michael Smith is going to give this team exactly what they need in the middle of that O-line, and maybe be able to help stop and prevent that pressure right up the gut. And I think this O-line could be on his way potentially, and we know what we got in Andrew Thomas. If Evan Neal can develop into the player we all hope that he can be, and his pick with John Michael Smith, man, I think this O-line could seriously be on a serious uprise with that selection, man. And Jalen, I've already told you how I feel about the Jalen Hyatt pick. That pick, I went absolutely nuts when they announced that pick on Friday night at the draft. I went absolutely crazy, man, because I believe Jalen Hyatt, his talent was just way far better than that of a 3rd round pick. He should not even have been on the board there. And then this is my favorite day 3 pick was Eric Gray. The running back. That's my favorite day 3 pick for the New York Giants right there. This guy here, I think, is another guy that can really – I think he can really give Barkley that rest he needs, man. Give him like those little breaks. He can come in. He's explosive. He's a one-cut back. He hits that hole. He runs hard. He's also very effective in the passing game. He can run out. You can spread him out wide. He can run routes like a receiver. He got pretty good hands, and he's a good safety valve out of the backfield. I think he's going to be a very good player for the New York Giants. And if things don't work out with Barkley going forward, maybe he can be that guy to step in and be that next bell cow for the New York Giants. What's going on, Buko, man? Thanks for stopping in, bro. Really appreciate it, man.
This just in. Unfortunately, the Giants have re-signed O'Shane Ximines to a contract. I'm so excited about this signing. I'm jumping for joy. Not really, but we need 90 men on the roster.
Depth is depth.
Let's see what we can do.
Depth is depth right now, man. And can't have enough of it right now, honestly. So I'm be okay with that going into camp with O'Shane Ximines, man. I'm fine with that, even though he started off the season pretty hot last year. It did definitely cool down, but he'll be. I'm okay with the depth piece, but I also like this Trey Hawkins pick because we need guys in that defensive backfield that can actually tackle the runners, man. Tackle the receivers, tackle the runners. I got tired of watching guys run through people's arms last year, man. And I'm just getting sick of it. So this guy here, he's not going to come in necessarily and be a plug-in starter, but he'll probably be a key special teams piece. I feel like he will probably have a good chance of making this roster when it's all said and done, because I think he will provide a lot on special teams, and he will be good. He will be a guy you can rotate in at corner when needed, man. Like I said, he can step in. He'll plug. He's a plugger. He's definitely not scared of the contact, man. He's not one of those Ole cornerbacks. He's going to stick his nose in there and lay the lumber on you. So I definitely see some positive things coming from Trey Hawkins, man. So Overall, I think the New York Giants hit this draft, man, nailed it. I think they addressed, like I said, the first 3 picks with some probably guys that are all going to be plug-in starters, and I think the rest of the way they got some good depth pieces, man. I mean, I'm not so sure about Gervarius Owens. I think with the safety position as it stands with the New York Giants, I'm not sure how strong a chance he's going to have of actually making the roster, but he'll be a good camp body, and who knows, he might show off in training camp and still get a spot. So we'll see, man. But I think the New York Giants have really did themselves well this weekend, man. And sure, are they technically on paper where the Eagles are? No. I think we all know that not on paper, but the game ain't played on paper. And I think the New York Giants put themselves in a position to be a lot more competitive with a team like that this year. And it's going to be fun to watch, and we're going to get a chance to see, man, when it all unfolds come September, man. But I think I'm really pleased with the New York Giants draft. Like I said, they moved up a spot to get Deonte Banks in the first round. And John Michael Smith's trade, I mean, they were able to just stay pat in round 2. And still he just fell to him. And I mean, I was stunned that he actually came that far down in the second round for the New York Giants to be able to get. But that place when they drafted Smiths, New York Giant Nation went crazy in Kansas City. That was also another moment that I wish we could all share, man. Unfortunately, we didn't get much of that one on tape because we got kind of duped by the NFL Network cameraman. Didn't even put us on TV, man. He came right up to us and got a reaction, but then didn't even air it on the TV, man. But yeah, that place went crazy.
We were looking for you. I was like, I would have known that.
There was a lot of New York Giant fans in the building, man. New York Giants, we represented ourselves well out there in Kansas City, man. It was awesome to see, man. But like I said, I think the Eric Gray pick to me is the guy. I think because that's one thing last year. I don't know what the situation was, but with the Brightwell and Breida, they just didn't seem to get the touches you were expecting to see. And I don't know if there's a reason behind that with the coaching staff, but I think maybe they brought this kid Eric Gray in for that exact reason. They want to have a guy that they feel more confident and reliable with rotating in and out with Barkley, giving him a few more touches. And I'm okay with that. And I'll be good with that. This guy has a skill set that fits this offense. That's going to fit this offense. And Daniel Jones, I think, is going to really be able to do some good things. And I think, just in general, what the Giants are doing with the receiver room right now is going to help open things up for Saquon Barkley. Because I will take you back to 2018. Saquon Barkley was a rookie, and he had a lot of big runs that season. Hit a lot of home runs that season, man. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that you got a receiver on the outside that the team's defense has got to worry about. That gives Saquon Barkley more space, man, to make some things happen. And I think people forget how talented he is when he has some room to run. When he's the primary focal point of the defense's game plan to stop, of course, it's going to slow him down some when we don't have anything else for him to worry about. But now I think the New York Giants have some more weapons that defenses are going to have to absolutely account for. And I think that's going to open up things for Saquon Barkley. And now it's all a matter of getting this guy locked up, man. I don't know if they can come to an agreement. I don't know if he's going to be stubborn like Le'Veon Bell and say the hell with it. I'm not playing on the franchise tag. We're going to have to see how that all plays out over the course of the next couple of months. But right now, I think Saquon Barkley also is a big recipient, is a big winner this weekend with some of the things the New York Giants did, man. And like I said, and adding even more speed and a dynamic player like Jalen Hyatt. I mean, having him and Darren Waller out there, that's just going to change the game, man. Defensively, man, like developing Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, he's only going to get better. And I mean, Slayton, we all know what Slayton is, man. I mean, he is what he is, but he's a guy with serious speed, and he's definitely a burner as well. So I think Saquon Barkley, man, is going to really, really, it's going to be a big year for Saquon if we can get everything right and get him in here and all the good stuff, man. Because Saquon Barkley, I think his rookie season when he had Odell Beckham on the team, it made a difference having a receiver out there spreading those defenses out a little bit more, giving him a little more room to work with because the offensive line was absolutely terrible then too. And now, granted, he had the veteran quarterback at Eli Manning as well. So I don't just take
he
that for
was
the
either. Only back. He was the only back that season that got his first touch that was getting hit 5 yards in the backfield. There was a stat where he was the only back that was getting hit the most in the backfield, and he made a lot of those runs positive. And I think the guy that I think is going to benefit the most is Darren Waller, because now, Barkley will benefit, and I think he will, but I think they're going to take him out of. I don't think they're going to be as run heavy as they were last year. I think they're going to be more pass heavy because of all the weapons that they got. And so for me, I'm looking at Jalen Hyatt and I'm looking at Darren Waller, and I'm like, well, they had nobody really that was a threat outside of Paris Campbell. But if you put Campbell on one side, you put Hyatt on the other, or Hyatt in the slot, and then let's say Darius Slayton in the outside, and you say go on your mark, get set, go, just run downfield, right? That's going to clear out so many people that somebody's going to be open in that field, and it's going to be Darren Waller. That's the guy I think is going to get a lot of benefit from all this speed on the field, is because at some point the defense is all going to have to play off, right? So everybody's going to play off, so they have to do what they did last time, and we'll see what happens. We will see what happens come opening game. I'm excited to get this thing started.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And we got one more team to talk about, folks. One more team to talk about today, and we all know who that is. Probably one of the most hated teams in football, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of people have like a lot of question marks about their first round pick. I'm not one of those people myself, but how do you feel about it, Adam?
I think it's an interesting pick, right? Because we can't underestimate the Cowboys, right? Last year they took Tyler Smith, and we all said, hey, Tyler Smith, poo, 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 poo. Now they take Mozzie Smith, I think the guy's name is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. His name is Mozzie Smith. Yeah. Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. He's a big boy, okay? Big run-stuffing tackle. They have Jonathan Hankins. Now they can put this kid next to him and really, have some fatties up front to keep off of Micah Parsons. This move was really a Micah Parsons move to stop the run and then let them have some fun, right? They were a 19th ranked defense against the run last year, which isn't bad, or not. They haven't ranked better than 19th, which is not great, but obviously that was a weakness last year, and it came out against the 49ers as they were getting their ass railroaded, in that game. This guy kind of brings that juice to them. Is he going to be a pass rusher? No. Is anyone going to mistake him for Dexter Lawrence? Probably not. But, like I said, the playoff game against San Francisco, they got absolutely hammered. This guy comes in there and can kind of give you a good body. He can move quickly. He's going to be up and down that line making those tackles. And Dan Quinn likes his pass rushing package. So this guy will be on a first and second down basis, right? He's got some moves. He can play. Look at this defense right now. They have DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams, who had a good year last year, Dante Fowler, right? And then you have Smith, who comes in there with Jonathan Hankins. Man, you're talking about a defense. If they can get teams in that 3rd and 8, range, 3rd and 7 range, they're going to be bringing the house. And that's what they want to do, especially with a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who run the ball so well on 3 different layers, right? The Eagles run. Now they have, we talked about DeAndre Swift. They have Jalen Hurst, who runs. They have Kenneth Gainwell, and they also have Boston Scott, who helps run game. They predicate on it. And the Eagles got like 5 yards a clip every time they ran. Well, guess what? You got to put a guy like Mozzie Smith in there. It's going to help. So we'll see how it does help going forward. If this does do what we say and help that defense, I think it will, especially if Parsons and Williams are 3-down guys for you. That'll allow them to be freed up, because guess what? The guy's 325 pounds, 340 pounds, some crazy number like that. He's gonna eat up some space. You know what I mean? And don't knock the book by its cover, right? Everyone's talking about, the Cowboys. They got some good people in the draft room. Okay, they've drafted some big time talent across the board, and we'll see what happens this year with Maisie Smith. Their second pick is interesting. Luke Shoemaker, tight end out of Michigan. He's a blocking tight end. He'll do some catching out of the backfield. They lost Dalton Schultz in free agency. They needed a tight end for Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot, right? They also had a guy named Sean McCain on their undrafted free agent. So he's a solid blocker. He comes from a run-fit team. And remember, the Cowboys are trying to run the football downfield. He'll be a playmaker in that regard. So I think they get their blocking tight end and the 2 tight end sets when they want to run him. He has a little bit of, ability in the passing game. So we'll see how it how they do, right? They have Calvin Joseph, who apparently they got in the second round. He hasn't produced well, so they're saying maybe he's not going to be one of the top producers as a second round pick for the Cowboys. But I look at this guy as a guy who's going to come in and be their second tight end. If they start Jake Ferguson and they think Hendershot, one of those 2 guys, takes a starting role, this guy can come in there and be a blocker. I think they got a decent tight end in here. DeMarvion is to the third round is DeMarvin Overshown. Inside linebacker out of the Texans. Again, he doesn't have to start right away. They have Vander Esch and Damon Clark as their linebacker, but this guy has got, he had 9 sacks. He had 3 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions. He's another person who can play in the Cowboys system on special teams. He started a lot of games for Texans in his last 2 seasons. He was originally a safety, so that he has ability to run and read and react and be a spy for probably these teams that have these quarterbacks that run around. Probably the fastest linebacker they got, and we'll see how he develops in Dan Quinn's system. Another guy Dan Quinn can use. They also took in the 4th round another defensive end. This is probably a bigger defensive end. His name is Vilamia Fihoko. Sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, but Dan Quinn loves guys like this. He had 23 sacks in his career, 11 pass deflections, and 5 forced fumbles. He's a top 30 player in the division, and he can help out. Give blows to Micah Parsons, to DeMarcus Lawrence, to Sam Williams. He's going to be a guy that can come in. He's 6'3", 276. So what that means is he's going to probably be on those rundowns. On those big sets, on those goal line packages, on those short yardage packages, he'll be able to help out. A true defensive end. And then you have Asim Richards, North Carolina. He was started 12 games last year. I remember the Cowboys did take Tyler Smith last year. They have a couple guys, Josh Ball and Matt Frioka, on the roster, but Richards can play center. He can do a lot of things. This is a good versatility move. The Cowboys know how to pick offensive linemen, so I wouldn't be surprised if this guy at some point gets some type of playing time down the road. And then, of course, a couple other guys they got in the 6th round. They got Eric Scott Jr., 6'1" corner, will help learn the defense for Dan Quinn. He'll help out with Stephen Gilmore. Stephen Gilmore is 30 years old. And they have a couple guys coming back that they're not so sure about. Anthony Brown wasn't re-signed, so this guy right here will probably be in the mix to get some playing time. I don't know how good he will be, but we'll see how he plays. Now, this 6th round pick I kind of like, and that is round 6. They picked Deuce Vaughn, running back out of Kansas State. If anyone knows about this guy, he's a little bowling ball. Probably a good little back out of the backfield, and let's be honest, they don't have much depth, so he might get some playing time. His father, Chris, is assistant with the team. The Cowboys have Tony Pollard, Ronald Jones, and Malik Davis on the roster. This guy led the FBS in running backs with 1,900 yards last year, and he had 43 touchdowns and 3,600 yards in his career, not to mention 1,200 yards receiving. Last year alone had 1,900 yards, folks. 1,900 yards. The reason why this guy is on the 6th round is because he's 5'6", 179 pounds. That's the reason he drops too good. Production like this doesn't get overlooked, but because of his height, weight, and speed, probably most likely because he's 5'5", it's like Muggsy Bogues out there, playing running back is probably one of the reasons. But I could see him getting lost behind defenders and lost behind the big offensive line. He's running a sweep play, and you see him 1 minute, he goes behind the big fat Tyler Smith and comes out the other side, and next thing you know, he's up the sideline. So He's small, low center of gravity, means he's going to be hard to tackle for a guy like our guy, Deontay Banks, who's 6'1", right? Has to crouch even lower to get this guy. Low man wins in these kind of things. So I really enjoy this pick. I don't necessarily want to see him do well because he plays for the Cowboys, but man, what an exciting pick to play with your father as an assistant there, and then come in, has a great chance to get some burn with the Cowboys. And then, of course, they needed a receiver. So they took a guy, Jalen Brooks, out of South Carolina, probably going to be more of a special teams guy. They got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, and, they have Jalen Tolbert as a third-round pick from last year. We'll see if this guy plays much, but we'll see. He was a transfer. I think he ran a 4.69, which is terrible. But we'll see if this guy plays special teams or anything like that. But that was the Cowboys draft. Like I said, my pick for them that I like the best out of not being a top pick is obviously Deuce Vaughn. I think we're going to hear his name a lot in Cowboys country this season.
All right. Good stuff, Adam. Look, all weekend out there, heard the chirps after round one about the Cowboys, and I honestly think the Cowboys did pretty well here in round one with Mozzie Smith. I think this kid is being vastly undervalued by most fans right now. Everybody's talking about, they could have got him in the second round, and you know what? Maybe they could have, but that was their guy, and they picked late enough in the first round that was their guy. They had him targeted. And they went out there and they got him, man. And he addresses a major, major need for the Dallas Cowboys. Last season, teams could absolutely gash the Dallas Cowboys up the gut, man. I mean, absolutely. They had to address that need. That wasn't something they could take lightly. And this guy was one of the top D tackles in this draft class. And people talking about they reached. I don't see it that way. They addressed a problem, and I think this guy is going to be a problem. Another load in the middle of a defensive line that our New York Giants are going to have to deal with. He's not going to come out. This guy is massive. This is a big man, and he's very, very good. He's very skilled. He's a great run stuffer, and I think he's going to provide what the Cowboys need. I mean, and with Micah Parsons on the outside, it just makes the Cowboys defense all that much more dangerous.
He's pushing 340
in the second round. As far as the second round goes with the tight end situation, that was also another need for the Dallas Cowboys. But let's face it, they lost out on Sam Laporte and Michael Mayer earlier in the top part of that second round, man. And I mean, this domino effect. They just felt like they needed to grab a tight end. They grabbed a guy that necessarily probably wasn't that high on their radar, but they went on ahead and filled the need.
Well, maybe it was high on their radar, just not everybody else's radar.
Well, maybe that's a possibility, but I'm sure that if they would have had a chance to make anything happen, and hopefully maybe was able to grab Mayer or Laporte or something like that.
I agree with you.
I think they probably would have been. Yeah, I think they would have been a lot more, happy with that. But at the same time, you never know. Like you said, the Cowboys are notorious. They draft well. How you feel about them, it doesn't matter. You can say what you want. They do tend to draft well. They have a way of acquiring. They acquire some good pieces, and I don't really like to question too much of what they do because it's been pretty successful overall. I mean, especially with the offensive line, man. I agree 1,000% what you said about Akeem Richards, man. Like this guy could mess around and be the next great Cowboy lineman for a couple years down the line. This is what they do, man. They just keep refueling and retooling, man. And people can scratch their head all they want, but I feel like the Cowboys were quite happy with that selection. They were quite happy with their pick, and that's at the end of the day is all that really matters. But also, their players, Michael Parsons absolutely was ecstatic. As a matter of fact, Mozzie Smith was the guy that he wanted them to get, and they went out there and got him. So, it's something to be said about that as well. I mean, they know where their problems are, and you can say they overreached, but think about it. Would Mozzie Smith have been sitting on the board waiting for the Cowboys in round 2 where they were selecting that? Hell no, he wouldn't have been. So they had to go get their guy when they had an opportunity to get him, man. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially at that part of the back end of the first round like that. You can kind of take a few more, roll the dice a little bit more and gamble a little bit more when you're in the back end of the first round like that.
I mean, they got Dante Fowler. They have Sam Williams, who came on last year, towards the end of the season. And now they're going to have another year with those guys. And what is the thing you need the most besides the run stuffer? You need a guy that's going to eat up blockers. That's what you need. Ray Lewis succeeded. We've seen it when he had Tony Saragusa and Sam Adams in front of him. Okay? What did that allow Ray Lewis to do? It just allowed him to do what he did best, make tackles. Right? If you put a guy like Mozzie Smith in there and he has to take up a double team because he's 340 pounds and wrecking havoc on your center, right? And they're like, well, we now need to move a guard down, so now we can't help our tackle out. That's going to help out Micah Parsons because now you're taking a guy out of protection. Or if you decide, hey, let's max protect because now we can't block, we can't do anything, and this guy kind of helps in that regard to stop the run. The Cowboys can do a lot of things. Now, do I think he's going to be good? I hope not as a Giant fan, but as a person watching the draft, and a Cowboy fan, this is what you need. Sometimes it's funny. People shop for need, and it may not be a pick that you like. Remember Dexter Lawrence in 2019. People are like, oh, he got him at 17. Oh, he's a run stuffer, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to do all this much. And then guess what? Now he's one of the best tackles, D tackles, nose tackles in the NFL, right? And that guy was picked 17. This guy is far less as athletic as Dexter Lawrence, but what is he going to be there for? Is he comes in there and does what, like what Jordan Davis is going to do for the Eagles, and has to be a run stuffer and keep guys off your linebackers, then it becomes a good pick. You know what I mean? Like people get too caught up in the way the sacks look for certain players that sometimes you need to look at what they do. The Cowboys had a guy that fit a need. Yes, maybe Deonte Banks was the guy that they wanted, or one of the other players that was drafted in front of them. But here they got Mozzie Smith. They fill a need. They got a guy here for 5 years who can help with their run defense. They have Jonathan Hankins here, and Micah Parsons is going nuts. Why is Micah Parsons going nuts for players he's never seen? Well, guess what? He knows the value of a guy that big in the middle of the defense.
Absolutely, man. I mean, no matter, it might not have been the sexy pick, but it was a pick. It was a pick that the Cowboys needed, and they went out there and they made it. And like I said, look at the NFC. How the NFC is made. NFC it's made up of some teams. I mean, you got Saquon Barkley with the Giants. We were talking about Brian Robinson earlier with Washington. You got the Eagles and now with DeAndre Swift and the rest of their crew and the Eagles have. You got to get you can't just have that middle of that defense be like it was a year ago for the Dallas Cowboys. They had to shore that.
And who did they lose to in the playoffs? They lost to the 49ers.
They lost to the 49ers, didn't they? Absolutely.
Why did they lose to the 49ers? Right. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. And when they did stop a nosebleed, their offense was getting beat down, but that's another story. But when at the end of the game, when you're gassed, see right now, when you have Stephon Gilmore on their team, that shores up the other side. Now the Cowboys are going to have guys who can gamble. Gilmore is a solid player, whether you like him or not. He's a solid player. Okay, he's not the Hall of Fame player that he was for New England and all that, and the teams that he played for. But he's a solid get for a team that's going to know how to use him. Now you add a guy like Mozzie Smith. You have Kyle Van Der Esch. They're bringing back their entire defense that was top 5 last year in the NFL. Okay, in a lot of categories. And now the one category that they were not in top 5 in, run stuffing, they have Jonathan Hankins and now Mozzie Smith. Jonathan Hankins is like 325. Mozzie Smith is 335. That's a lot of beef in the middle of that line.
Absolutely. Speaking of lines in general, just not even just about the Cowboys, the NFC East in general, man, they all approach this draft knowing what they have in store for them. I think you're going to have 4 pretty good offenses in this division. So these teams in this draft this weekend, these 4 NFC East teams, they definitely addressed their defenses and made sure they got some pieces in there that can probably help elevate their defenses and bring and do the things that they're going to need to be able to compete against what they're going to be dealing with most of the season in this division, man. There's going to be some hard-hitting, tough football, some fun football to watch. NFC East is all the way back. For those who don't know, ain't no more NFC leagues jokes. That's out the window. This is back to being the absolute best division in football.
We'll find out
I'm not
now.
just saying that because I'm a Giants fan. I'm not saying that just because I'm a Giants fan. I'm saying that because I truly believe that this division is all the way back, and it's going to be some interesting football. And it's going to be fun watching these teams beat each other up all season long. It's going to be some great games in this division. And
we'll see. Like you said, the NFC East is back, but let's be honest. Last year, everyone in the NFC East had a weak schedule. This year, everyone's on notice. There are teams coming in here, and it's not going to be easy. So you're building for conference winners, right? And the two teams that ended up in the conference game were the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. And what do those two teams do the best? Run the football, right? And so if you want to, and what did the Giants get gashed at last year against the Eagles in their play? The Vikings couldn't run the football to save their life. So the Giants were at an advantage there. They couldn't stop a nosebleed in the passing game. But when they played the big team in Philadelphia just it was like as if they were snowplows and they were just going down the field, road grading the entire way down, touchdown, next drive, same thing, touchdown, next drive, same thing. The 49ers, they had their issues, but in the Cowboy game, it was predominantly a run-heavy game. They did have some, Deebo Samuels broke a couple tackles for a touchdown and things of that nature, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't stop those runs, and those teams are what I mean. Look at the Cowboy game on Thanksgiving. The Giants lost that game in the second half because they couldn't stop the run, right? And so now these teams now have run stuffers. I mean, Washington, we talk about them. They got a good defensive line, right? They're ahead of the game. The Eagles, they have a good defensive line. They know how to stop the run. The thing missing from the Cowboys and the Giants were run stuffers. And both teams addressed that in the draft with picks, with the pick from Oregon for the Giants and Mozzie Smith. So we'll see this time. The rubber meets the road this year. The Giants aren't hiding on nobody. I don't care about the Jets and taking the headlines. Giants aren't hiding on anybody. The Cowboys, we already know they won over 12 games last season, and Philadelphia won 13 games last season. And let's not make it any slouch. Commanders won about 7 games. They could have won 8 games if shit bounced their way in a few games. So we'll see. And they might have a better quarterback play or more competent quarterback play in Sam Howell. They're off the line. We already talked about getting more depth. So these teams know they're ready. They're ready. You build for the team that's in your conference, and then you build for the team that's in your division. Then you build for the team that's in your conference. So right now we're shooting for the Cowboys and Eagles, but we're also shooting for the 49ers.
I mean, I agree. But like I said, I think the one thing right now is going to come down to health. I think in this division, honestly, I think the team that can they can stay healthy, because like I said, it's going to be rough. These guys are going to beat each other up, I feel like, all season long. But it's going to come down to the health, and I think that was a big part of the Giants' problems also a year ago, was just he didn't have enough depth out there on that D line. I mean, you had Leo and Dexter Lawrence out there playing way, way, way more snaps than those guys should have been playing. And now, hopefully, if these guys went in free agency, you brought in some depth pieces, on that across that D line, and it's going to make. I think that's going to also have an impact, because you're going to have a fresher Dexter Lawrence out there, have a fresher Leo out there most of the time, and hopefully they can make some more impact plays. I mean, obviously we know Dexter was making impact plays anyway, but hopefully they can make a lot more, and that can help them, just keep building this team up. Like you said, the schedule's going to be a little bit tougher on paper. Like I said, I don't put a whole lot of stock into that myself personally, because you just never know who's actually going to be good and who's not, honestly, year to year. Teams that are expected to be good, we expected to be good last year. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, trust me. But the teams you expect to be good, sometimes they just aren't as good. Look at, Green Bay struggles last year. People thought they were still going to just come out and be a pretty rock solid team last year, and they kind of weren't, So you just never really know always until they get out there and start playing. You mentioned Tennessee earlier, teams like that. I mean, just expected a little bit more going into the season than what you got. So we'll see how it all plays out. But one thing I know for sure is the Giants got 3 very tough opponents within their own division. 6 games that are going to, be very important, and they got to do far better in divisional play, and that's what it's going to really come down to at the end of the day. So, are we where the Eagles and Cowboys are right now? I wouldn't say so, obviously, but you never know how it can all play out once they get on the field, man. So, got anything, Adam, man, before we get ready to wrap this up, man?
No, they're just, like I said, the NFL is on notice for these teams. They know there's going to be a lot of them. There could be 3 representatives again in the playoffs. I think the Giants will win hard 9 games, but we'll talk about that next week on the schedule show. But it should be fun to see how these players develop. And I really enjoyed the first 3 picks of the Giants. And I agree with you. I think they're more exciting than last year's, first 3 picks. And they had Evan Neal and Kevin Thibodeau in the first 2 rounds. So we'll see how those guys pan out. And I really like what Schoen is doing and Brian Daboll. But hey, folks, one thing I will say, if the Giants win 9 games and don't make the playoffs, don't be alarmed, right? There's a lot of good teams up and coming, in the NFC and teams that were on the cusp last year. That's what they do these things for. That's why these wild card changes. So just enjoy it. Just be happy that our team's run by, smart individuals, as are the Eagles. I mean, they're run by Howie Roseman and the Cowboys as well. They've drafted pretty well. The Commanders, have new ownership, so they're moving on in a different direction. It should be fun next year. Is it September yet? Because I'm ready to go.
I'm absolutely ready to go, man. And for all you guys, all you Star Wars guys out there, man, enjoy Star Wars Day tomorrow, man. May the 4th be with you, man. This is your boy. Make sure y'all please check out me and my guy Adam, man. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up on both our channels, the Hardcore Sports Network. Make sure you go there, hit the thumbs up on that, on the Hardcore Network Sports Network stream as well, man. Please keep supporting the channel, man. We're gonna be bringing this to you. We're still not gonna be quite back weekly yet, but we'll be back coming, some off-season stuff, man. Bringing that heat, man. And that Real Deal NFC East Roundup is back, baby, for the 2023 season. We will be back on a special time next Friday. Talk about the schedule a little bit. So we'll be back next week as well.
We may or may not have a guest
coming back
to
at
help
you a
us
little
out
periodically. Yeah, we'll be back periodically throughout the off season, man. Probably be back at full swing weekly by July. So just make sure y'all tune in, and we're gonna keep bringing that heat on the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. This is my guy Adam Costas. Y'all know I am Mac the Giants fan. Like I said before, enjoy y'all Star Wars Day, man. Tomorrow for you guys that are into that. It's your boy Mac the Giants fan.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MacDaGiantsFan.